Today on Is It Fast, we are comparing two sports cars from the early noughties, a Maserati 3200 GT and a Porsche 911 996 Carrera. Both of these cars are available for just under £14,000 right now, right here, today, and we're going to answer the question, which early noughties sports car should you spend your money on?
So you've got £14,000 to spend on a weekend runaround, and you are faced of the choice between getting a Porsche 911 996 or a Maserati 3200 GT. Do you pick the safe option or do you pick the Maserati? This is the Porsche 996, the infamous 996. Why do I call it the infamous 996? Because this is the first water-cooled Porsche that they made. And Porsche fans all over the world freaked out. It had those weird new headlights that nobody liked, and it felt like a real departure from the traditions of Porsche. This particular model has got the early Tiptronic box, and it's okay. I mean, you don't get the same feeling as you do manually going through the gears, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's actually, considering it's neon 20 years old, not that bad. The sports seats are adequate. They're in fact very comfortable, and if you really tow it, you do get a bit of performance. Whoa, okay, yeah, that was actually pretty nippy. Like most Porsche 911s, this is an example of evolution over revolution. Although, as I say that, it's probably as revolutionary as they got at the time, departing from the air-cooled engines and the buggy lights. But there's something familiar about a Porsche 911. It doesn't matter what model you jump into, once you've driven enough of them, they all feel relatively safe and homely and similar, and that's a positive. You know that when you buy a Porsche, whether it's brand new off the production line in Stuttgart or second hand like this one, you know that you're getting something that's been thought about and is quality. Gap in traffic, go! It does have a bit of poke. Now, as the 996 came between, funnily enough, the 993 and the 997, it feels like a little bit of both peppered in between the two. For example, it feels internally, the build quality, the stuff, feels a bit like the 997. But the drive, apart from the engine and the steering and the size of it, apart from all those things, it feels quite a bit like the 993. And to be honest, what I'm talking about with that is the fact that you can hear stones through the wheel arches, which for me reminds me of the 993. Now, I have a lot of sympathy for Porsche drivers and enthusiasts because I love the Porsche 993, the last air-cooled Porsche. I love it. It is in my top 3 driving cars of all time. I absolutely love it. I would chop bits of my body off to make sure that there are enough 993s left in this world for people and driving enthusiasts to enjoy. I also quite like the 997. But actually, I don't hate this 996. It is quickly becoming an appreciating modern classic. It drives remarkably well. Even the Tiptronic box is doing it for me. There's not that much to dislike about the 996. I think the 996 is a victim of its era. I think the fact that it was the first of the water-cooled variants, the fact that they changed the headlamps, I think that kind of did it. I mean, they still sold in huge numbers and they ran for about 7-8 years. So they were still being bought, and it's really quite an impressive machine. So this is a Maserati 3200 GT. This is a significant Maserati in their history because this is the first Maserati to roll off the production line after it was acquired by Ferrari, no less, in the late 90s. When Ferrari purchased Maserati, they went about making it look a lot more like it should. Maseratis have always been well known for being a bit of an acquired taste. They've always driven like a bat out of hell. They've always performed spectacularly on the road, and then all the bits fall off and they explode. So this was Maserati's great comeback. Now, I'll be honest, I'm filming this stationary because I, like many people, believe the rumours that Maseratis will spontaneously combust. If this is the last video I ever do, I love you, Mum. Whoa, this thing, I'm doing like 30 miles an hour and it's just crazy. I know that sounds stupid, but it's... Oh my God. Now, this Maserati, actually from the outside, doesn't look that big, but it's actually bigger than a 911 of the time. And that means that it's got two back seats that adults can actually use. It's actually usable. It handles very, very nicely on the road. It doesn't feel big. The steering is relatively light, but very precise. It much prefers being driven a bit quicker than a bit slower. I know that sounds mad, but the gearbox feels like it prefers it. This is the 6-speed manual, 3.2 V8, and so far so good. Okay, I'm going to hit the accelerator now. Everything about this screams Italy. Wow! Oh! I scream Italy. Wow. Okay, this is quick. This is quick. I tell you what, once it gets going, it picks up like an absolute hooligan. Oh yes, this is very, very fun. So when the 3200 GT was released, originally in 1999, it was there to compete with the likes of the 911 996 and the Jaguar XJ. And yeah, I can see what they were going for. It originally retailed at around about £60,000, which is a lot of money. Oh, but the sound of that V8. It's a bit wishy-washy in the corners. It does wallow a bit. And I'm not a tall guy, but I'm not a short guy. And the gear stick feels a long way away when it's in third. That's weird. But you've got to keep thinking to yourself, this is an Italian car, a Maserati. It's gonna have weird things about it. But all is forgiven when you hear that V8 burbling, because it really, 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 really sounds lovely. The Italians know how to make an engine. You can't argue with that. The thing about driving a Maserati of any age, but this Maserati is now 17 years old, you do worry about whether it's going to get you to the end of the street. This was meant to be a new dawn for Maserati. It was meant to usher in the age of reliable motoring for people that couldn't quite afford a Ferrari but wanted something with a bit of history. I mean, let's not forget that in the 50s, Maserati won Grand Prix and championships. Fangio drove a Maserati. Now, it does have a number of Italian foibles. Number one, the pedals are quite near to each other and off to an angle. Very typically Italian. Number two, things don't really look like they should be in the place that they're in. Again, you don't mind, because it's Italian and it's a Maserati and it sounds insane. Woo-hoo-hoo! It is so quick when it gets going, and that's pleasurable.
So, having taken out these two very, very different sports cars, which one do I recommend? Well, the simple answer really is what you want to do with both these cars. If you're looking for something a little bit different, a little bit exotic, and something that kind of gets you going, it's got to be the 3200 GT. If, however, you are looking for something a little bit more sensible, a little bit more drivable, and ultimately just a little bit more capable, then you can't go wrong with a 911. Which one would I pick? Well, I'm an idiot. So I'd pick Maserati. I'd use it at the weekend and I'd do silly things in it until it breaks. And then I'd fix it. Yeah, and I'd do it all over again.
But man, I love Porsches, man. They are flipping fun.